It's hard for me to find a label for myself. I guess I could call myself a spiritual teacher. I have had extrasensory abilities my whole life since childhood, and that's really led me into a deep dive of questioning, questioning the foundation of this reality, questioning my place within it. And so I have a very curious mind. And through my questioning, I inspire other people to question the foundation of this reality. And I gather information and I present that information to others to try and inspire them and wake them up to consciousness.
Okay.
So this book is a really great overview of kind of the stages of awakening. So it starts with anxiety and questioning everything, and then it ends with soul mission and aliens. So it really does cover sort of all of those stages of spiritual awakening. And for me, when I was waking up, over a decade ago, I had a really hard time. I felt like I didn't have anywhere to turn to. I didn't have any mentors or teachers. And so I really wanted to write this book from my own perspective, sharing my story of spiritual awakening, helping other people along their journey, to really be that teacher or that leader that I didn't have when I was first awakening. So, the title itself, right? I think when we're going through a spiritual awakening, a big part of that is an aspect of self that dies. Call it an ego death or a dark night of the soul, but there is a part of us that no longer aligns to our highest timeline. And so that's why it feels like we're dying when we're actually waking up. And so how do we know we're actually in a spiritual awakening? Well, it's tough, right? Instead of calling it a spiritual awakening, we could call it a transformation. You can think about it as being that caterpillar in a cocoon and then transitioning to that butterfly. When we are that caterpillar in a cocoon, it feels like we've lost all sight. And then all of a sudden, without realizing it, we blossom into something new. So it's really a transformation process. So whether you're spiritual or not, everyone goes through transformations, and through that transformation process, there's a part of us that has to die along the way. And so that sort of explains the title of the book, and then also what we could experience and how we can pinpoint a spiritual awakening is that transformation. It's the death and then the rebirth. "2025 is the year of death and rebirth." So talking about the book, this is a perfect time to read the book if you haven't already, because both individually and collectively, no matter where you are in the world, we are being impacted by the collapse and the downfall of the old system. And so within numerology, 2025 adds up to a 9, which is the year of death. So you're going to notice a lot of cycles, a lot of endings, a lot of dramatic exits, a lot of health issues in this year. And we're just really clearing the space for the rebirth, which is going to come in 2026. So my advice for people is let go. Stop hanging on to things or aspects of your life that no longer serve you, and just allow what doesn't serve you to flow out of your life and clear that space for new possibilities. Yeah, great question. So, you mentioned it. One of our greatest fears is the fear of the unknown. And when we're letting everything we thought we knew go, we're letting it all go, we're shifting into this space where we don't know what's coming next. We don't know what's going to happen. And that's a really scary place to be. So one of my best practices is to challenge yourself to be comfortable with the discomfort. So one of the things that I do is take cold showers And I do this because I'm training myself to be okay with not being okay, to be okay with being uncomfortable. And I think the more that we can do this, the easier that discomfort or the unknown gets. And I think the more that we make these transitions and the more that we have these deaths and rebirths, the easier they become because the more we trust the process, right? So the safer we feel within it, the easier it is. So it really is just, feeling that safety, wow, having it happen more often, and then being okay with being uncomfortable, because life is never just going to get easier. Life is always going to happen. Challenge is always going to happen. And if we're okay confronting that challenge, then it gets easier every time. Yeah, just let go. And I also really recommend appreciation and gratitude. So even in some of the darkest, most challenging moments of our life, just to appreciate the fact that we're here during this time, or we get to wake up and, smell that blooming flower, or even access the internet and watch this video, is something that we can have great gratitude for. So gratitude and appreciation will always lift your energy. Yeah. Okay. Well, I do have a lot of thoughts about self-love.
Okay.
And so many spiritual teachers are all about love and light and butterflies and rainbows, and that's just not me. I am so much of a realist. So my understanding of self-love is an emphasis on the self instead of the love. And let me explain that. We cannot love ourselves if we are loving an aspect of self that is not the true self. So we have to break it all down in order to understand what we're really loving, who we're really loving. And so for me, and even in my book, I talk about identity and how we are not the mother, we are not the gardener, we are not the athlete, we are not the bus driver. We are none of the labels that we put on ourselves. We are not female. We are not, married. We are none of these things. And so if we love ourselves from the perspective of, I love myself as a psychic, you're not actually truly loving yourself. So what needs to happen first is you need to break down all of the identities and you need to become nothing. And as long as you're okay being the nothingness, then you're okay being the everything. And within that state of nothing and everything comes true self-love and also true self-mastery. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So for me personally, Japan has always been on my bucket list. I have spent quite a few lifetimes in Japan as well. And there is something so deeply sacred and so deeply spiritual about Japan. Not just like in the countryside, but also in the city as well. And so there are these let's call them an energetic portal that's there. And those energetic portals in Japan specifically, it's really interesting. Unlike any other country in the world, it connects both the past ancient knowledge and deep sacred spiritual roots with this interesting sort of future vision of what the planet should be. And it comes together. So it's like Japan holds the past and it holds the keys to the future. And you're holding space for both. And I think that it's probably one of the most underrated countries in the world for that. And I think that one day the rest of the world will be looking to Japan for a lot of solutions. And I'm surprised that we're not already looking at Japan for those solutions. Good question. So the message that keeps coming up for me is all about power. And it's about the power that we all have as individuals to create our destiny, to create our reality. And I think that so many of us, myself included, we get so caught up in the matrix. We get so caught up in the mundane ongoings of life that we forget that we are creating the life that we're living. And so what I want to prompt everyone to do today is to take a moment before we step into 2026 to assess your life. Ask yourself, what is working? And what is not working for me? And then simply choose to change what isn't working. And it doesn't mean that you have to know what's next, but you have to admit to yourself what isn't working in order to change it. And I like to call that radical responsibility. Take radical responsibility for your own life and understand that everything you've created, you can uncreate and recreate. Yeah, essentially, it's a new solution to anxiety. I'm pairing the physical world with the non-physical world to present an understanding of anxiety that just isn't out there yet. So it's not a quick fix, it's a sustainable solution. So for anyone who's an empath or sensitive and have suffered from anxiety like I have, then definitely check out this book. It should be released in January, and right now it's open for pre-sale.
Oh, that's right. In English.
Yeah. In English.
Oh,
so
can't
far,
wait.
so
Yeah,
far.
yeah, yeah.
We're going to work on that.
Oh, it'll be published in Japanese too, right?
Oh, yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
okay,
It will be.
okay, great.
Yep.
昨日とかにリリースされたそうなので、ぜひぜひこちらご購入いただいて、もう絶対楽しい。もうこちらがね、この英語版がめちゃくちゃ楽しかったので、本当にためになるので、こちらもぜひぜひ買って読んでいただけたらと思います。本当に今日はありがとうございました。Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and energy with us today. Thank you so much. Please say hi to your family.
I will.
Oh,
Thank you
great.
so much.
Thank
As
you so
always, keep up the good work, okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye for now.